Hello, in this video I want to update you on some past projects. I thought I'd start with the thing that I get asked about the most, which is drainage issues. Since we moved in here 5 years ago, we've had numerous issues with drainage, which I've covered over the course of 3 separate videos. Round here at the back of our bungalow, we used to have severe flooding on the patio during heavy rainfall, and with the help of my mate Aiden from the AIDEN project, we dug out a brand new soakaway and installed new drainage, and I'm happy to say that everything's working perfectly, no issues whatsoever. At the front of our bungalow, I recently installed these channel drains running to a new soakaway which I dug out by hand to help cope with a lot of the water that gets pushed into our garden from the nearby road. And this turned out to be an interesting one because initially, after I'd done all of the work, I was still getting some pooling water here on the gravel during heavy rainfall, so I was pretty devastated. I took a walk down our road and just had a look in our neighbours' gardens. And I noticed that everyone else's gardens were flooded too. In fact, they were a lot worse than ours. And it was then when I realised 2 things. One, I hadn't paid enough attention to what the source of the problem could be. And by that, I mean the road itself. Every single one of the drains in the curb by the road were blocked, full of soil and weeds. So rain was pooling up on the side of the road where it had nowhere to go until passing vehicles pushed the water into our gardens. Rather than raise this with the council, I decided it was a quick enough job just to unblock the drains myself. The second thing I noticed was that at the very start of my channel drains, they had very quickly become blocked, full of leaves and debris. So I ended up grinding some of this concrete away using a diamond disc in my angle grinder just to make the opening bigger. And this brings me on to some of the comments that I got in the video, which were suggesting that I should have laid the channel drains along the bottom of this part of the slope as well. And what I probably should have explained in the video was that there was really no need to do that. And that's because this piece of concrete that I'm standing on right now has a slight fall towards the drain. So the inlet of the channel drains was installed at the lowest point, meaning that any rain that comes down this part of the slope flows that way, and any rain that falls onto the concrete driveway flows towards the drains too. I didn't have to wait long for the next heavy downpour, seeing as this May and June has been the wettest that I can remember. And I'm happy to say that with the road drains now working and the opening to my channel drains made bigger, since then we've had no issues with pooling water in the front garden. I just need to get in touch with our local council to make sure that they are aware of the issue with the road drains and make sure that they keep on top of it in future. And finally, at the side of our bungalow, I had to do some drainage solutions too, which first involved cutting out a channel from this concrete path and also this concrete driveway which is just around the corner, all in an effort to keep these single skin, i.e. no cavity walls, as dry as possible, because I don't believe there's any damp proof course in these walls. And inside those walls is this, our storeroom, which used to be a single car garage. And this is where we had some major mold issues originally, mostly at the bottom of the 2 exterior walls and also on the concrete floor. So on the inside, I applied a damp-proof membrane product on both the floor and the bottom of the exterior walls to keep any moisture out. And I also applied some insulated plasterboard to the exterior walls just to make sure that they stay warm so that condensation cannot form, which can be another source of the mold issue. I then installed underlay over that damp-proof membrane and a garage floor tile product and new skirting boards, and obviously all of this is covered in that video in detail. And I'm pleased to say that we've had no further issues with mold over the winter. This, by the way, is the corner where we had most of the issues previously. I think that cutting out these channels in the concrete has worked extremely well in terms of keeping these walls dry. On this particular wall, there are no signs of any moisture problems. On this wall at the front, there have been some white stains appearing, which I presume is salts in the wall, but those stains haven't reached the floor level on the inside, represented by that black line. As part of that video, I installed some kind of DIY makeshift land drains, I guess you'd call them, which don't run to any soakaways or anything because it would have just been a huge job to do that. So the pipes that I installed were just designed to hold water and then gradually drain into the ground beneath. And these channel drains along this wall do that too, because I drilled a series of holes in the bottom. A few people in the comments section of that video expressed their concerns with these drains overflowing, but that's never been an issue. In fact, even in the heaviest of downpours, I've only ever seen these drains, I would say, being about 10 to 20% full. And I think that's because these drains are partially protected by this wall, and also this concrete drive has a fall leaning this way. So in other words, the only rain that goes into these drains is the rain that actually falls onto them. The makeshift DIY land drains, I guess I'll call them, which I installed under this gravel, however, which my friend Aiden, who knows a lot more about this stuff, described as
bit of a bodge.
And to be honest, I agree, it was a bit of a bodge. But it's a bodge that seems to be working, although I do have a couple of regrets. Firstly, I wish I'd installed some kind of silt trap And that's because this downpipe serves a couple of flat roofs up here, and you get a lot of these stones off the felt that come loose. And even though I added this thing to stop bigger bits of debris getting into the land drain, I think over time it could slowly fill up with silt and eventually fail. And two, I didn't install any membrane, the geotextile non-woven stuff, which again would have helped to keep my pipes cleaner for longer and stop debris getting in from above and around. This video is sponsored by HelloFresh, an online meal delivery service where you can select the food that you want to eat and get all of the fresh ingredients delivered direct to your door. And I've already forgotten what I ordered, to be honest, so this is going to be a pleasant surprise. We have Tex-Mex style pork mince tacos, sticky bang bang style chicken, and one of my favorites, ultimate Thai green style chicken curry. It's actually me and my wife's 3-year wedding anniversary today, so I've let my wife choose and she went for the tacos. So let's get the bag open. And it's been a while since I've cooked, to be honest, so this could be interesting. Mickey. Each meal comes with a card with easy to follow instructions about how to prepare the ingredients. And if you'd like to try it out for yourself, you can get 60% off your first box plus free desserts for life if you use my offer code RAGANDBONE60. And you can use the QR code on screen now. I'll also leave a link in the description box. All the meals we tried tasted great and were quick and easy to prepare. Thanks HelloFresh. Now back to the video. While we are here, another project that I get asked about a lot is this MDF gate. Some people are still unaware that exterior grade MDF exists, and there are others who doubt how long the manufacturer says that this stuff lasts. I do have one problem with this, which we'll come on to shortly, but first, as you can see, the gate is holding up extremely well. It looks almost as clean as the day I put it in. So anyway, let me show you the issue with it. Basically what's happened is somebody's left it open at some point and the wind has caught it. So it's slammed shut like this, and a rather large crack has appeared in the side here. So first I'm just going to spray on a little water, which will help activate the glue. And I've got a glue syringe here, which I've loaded with some polyurethane glue. So I'll get as much in there as I can. So now onto the catio, and we've got some big news and some small updates as well. The big news is that we had our first escape. It wasn't Mickey though. Mickey isn't the most athletic of cats, shall we say. I think the only way Mickey would escape is if you lured him with a hamburger or something. Hazel managed to jump from this shelf here right up to the roof. It was quite uneventful though, because once she got up there, I don't think she could figure out how to get down again. So it was just a case of going up there with a ladder and getting her down. So the solution was to add this timber here with a 45-degree angle cut on each end and then more mesh on top. Unfortunately, that's completely solved the issue. Originally, I only installed artificial grass along this half here, but as you can see, I've added it to the rest of the space as well because I just thought it would look better, and it's only about 40 quid or something. And we've added a nice outdoor rug as well, just to make it feel a little bit more homely. A while ago, I built these bird boxes. That was another video on the channel, and we've got some blue tits nesting in here at the moment. And it's been quite funny to watch them from my office because they're pinching all of the string from these plant holders. I don't know if you can see how much of that has gone, and it's kind of hanging by a single thread now. So eventually I think this plant pot will plummet to the floor. I've also added some of my leftover workshop floor tiles to this concrete step here because baby Brown likes to crawl out here, and that makes it a bit safer. This right here has to be by far my most critiqued video ever. Oh, I don't mean this, by the way. I mean this. There used to be a window here. Can you see it? I certainly can, and I think that's probably why a lot of people had an issue with it. I did some block laying to close up the opening of where the window used to be, and then I applied render and pebble dash to try and blend it in with the rest of the wall. Never before have I received so many nasty comments than I did on this video. But the weird part is, I still think I did a good enough job here. I never expected it to blend in perfectly, and it's more than strong enough. I made this Fireguard out of a salvaged dog crate, and during that project I was toying with the idea of using the clips from binder clips to secure the panels together, but in the end I couldn't find clips that were the right size, so I ended up using cable ties temporarily. But somebody in the comment section of that video suggested I use these things. They're called joining mesh clips. I did have to use some small pieces of foam inside the clips just to make sure that they clamped onto the bars tightly enough, but that was an easy fix, and I think these look great. And in the same video as I made the Fireguard, I also made this log cutting jig for the chainsaw, which I've made some changes to. Originally it just had these two half-lapped X-shaped supports, but I found that for cutting shorter logs it lacked support, so I've added a third one. Didn't even bother half-lapping this, just two pieces glued and screwed together, and this now works so much better. I've also made a handle out of some plywood just so that it's easy to move around.